Good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome on behalf of her and the 10 families of Kingsmill on this very memorable night. I want to just put the families at ease. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is your moment. You've waited a long time. I know a lot of these people to see. They're my neighbours, good people, and they've come not to gap at you, but to support you, to stand with you.
O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast, and our eternal home.
Just before we bow in prayer, could I take the opportunity to express to the families of the victims of Kingsmill our sincerest thoughts at this time. We realise that this is a very moving time for you, and as a congregation we feel very much the hurt that you have felt over these years, and we know too that political expediency has almost destroyed the idea of a victim, but the Lord knows, and we leave these matters in His hands, and we trust that the Lord God Almighty will indeed perfect His will in these matters. I have talked to some of the relatives of those men whose lives were snuffed out on that night. I have talked also to others who were involved afterwards. I have talked to members of the security forces, and there is only one long, sad tale, and that is that there seems to be no will to track down those responsible, no determination to bring to justice those who perpetrated such cruelty in our midst, in this lovely part of God's earth.
On the 5th of January 1976, a minibus left Glenanne Mill, which for those that are visiting, there's many visitors, some down in the city tonight. You just follow this road into the village, turn right, and you go down to a place called Glenanne. The minibus left Glenanne Mill at 5:20. Robert Walker was driving, Joe Lehman was the front passenger, and the 8 other victims, whose names you'll see shortly, were in the bus, along with a number of other locals and ladies, and they were dropped off, and then the bus turned onto the Kingsmill Road, which is the road you're standing on, and made the journey and come around that corner. And as they come up the brow of the hill here, a man stepped out with a red light and stopped the bus. We're told he was quite aggressive and straight to the point. At this stage, another number of men, about 3, appeared. And the men were ordered off the bus, as possibly as many as 7 or 8 appeared from the Newry Road direction, that road down there to my left. And the men were lined up, told with their hands out against the bus. They asked for the Roman Catholic. He was eventually identified and brought out and sent down the road. And then what we're told by the only survivor and the witness in the providence of God, God allowed a man to live to tell the world what happened. That man says, and I don't want to add any more heaviness to his heart this evening, but that man said there was a mighty burst of fire for a few seconds, and then there was a split silence for a few seconds, and then there was a noise of groans and moans and pain. And the guy had been so confident and cocky in ordering them out of the bus, then quite casually said, "Finish them off." And they did. Shot each and every one of them in the head. And then they walked away into the night. into the night. Now, of course, Kingsmill, you aren't allowed to grieve without mentioning other tragedies around this countryside. All investigations, HET and so forth, have proved beyond any doubt that Kingsmill was at least 6 months in the planning, carried out with military precision, well-planned operation. Now those 10 men died, and it ruined their families, destroyed lives. I have to also say it left a serious mark in this countryside. The neighbours and the Protestant people were sent a message that night. You had better knuckle down, keep quiet, keep your heads low, or we'll do the rest of you. It was said to me in Newry before, Kingsmill is the only thing you Protestants understand. The only thing you understand. The so-called lovely sons of Ireland in the rotten, pathetic, demonic, Fenian institutions. I'm not saying that nasty in that sensitive slang. I'm saying in their deep, old Sinn Féin oaths that bind them and are dragging them down to lostness and damning a whole generation to follow them, chose this site. So we didn't decide we'll build something here on top of a hill. Somehow rotten children, possessed and guided by Satan, chose to pick this hill and do to death 10 men. Their intention was 11, but 10 died. And then they've built monuments, memorials all over this countryside to their heroes. They're rotten, pathetic, murdering dirt. That's what they are. Do you understand how bad a situation we are in? It is absolutely nothing short of pathetic and sick that people in Newry decided to name a play park after a rotten, filthy murderer called McCrish. It is a shame. It is a shame. And you know, all the watery ones around the countryside who don't want these things mentioned, usually the biggest enemy of the Roman Catholic community. I, as an Orange man, am saying to the Roman Catholic community, you need to wise up. The road yous are going down, glorifying the McCrishes and getting your children to play and worship at the feet of dirty, rotten, what would you call them, friends? They're pathetic. Before we left home this afternoon, went into the calf house and we put fresh straw down, and these dirty, rotten heroes lay in their own filth. But because they belong to the Sinn Féin Republican old movements with their secret wicked oaths, nobody says anything. It's ridiculous and it's pathetic. Martin McGuinness's statements in the past week have been dreadful. For a chief constable to say, I really can't afford to be dragged back to the likes of Kingsmill to look at it, friends. There's not another chief constable in the free world would say it.
People were killed not because they were bad neighbours. In fact, I still remember my first summer or so in Raffray, and we were embarked upon a plan to enlarge and build a new church hall. So we were using the Orange Hall. And one of the social evenings, we were getting the water, and the farmer's wife next door to the Orange Hall came down to me and she said, Mr. Smith, the water in the hall is no use for making tea. Come up to our house, for that's where the Orange men always get their water to make their tea. She was a Roman Catholic. So I asked some of the Orange men, the older folk, I said, is there a story here that some of us have forgotten? And they told us of the day, many years previously, when on the 12th of July, the Raffray Band and the Orange Lodge
walked a mile without playing a tune in respect of one of the Murrays who had just died. That was Orangeism. For as William of Orange said to my Scotch forebears, William said, "My faith does not teach me to persecute." You have been persecuted, and the scriptures say, "Blessed are you when men shall persecute and revile you, because you stand for a faith that they dislike. For it condemns them as they seek to crawl their way to heaven on their own deeds and forget their misdeeds." We can do this tonight with a clear conscience, for these are men who were citizens of this community, who acted honourably, worked faithfully, and died manfully at the hands of those who are accountable, if not to the law of this land, to the law of God.
I'll call the names. Robert Chambers, age 19 years. John McConville, age 20 years. Walter Chapman, age 23 years. Kenneth Wharton, age 24 years. Reginald Chapman, aged 25 years. John Bryan, aged 46 years. Joseph Lehman, aged 46 years. Robert Walker, aged 46 years. Robert Freeborn, aged 50 years. And James McWhirter, aged 58 years.
Kenneth Wharton was our granddad. We never got to know him because he was killed when he was just 24 years old. We have seen photographs of him, and we have had to rely on family members telling us stories of what our granda was like. We would love to have met him and do all the things that grandparents do with their grandchildren. It was hard for us growing up without our granda Wharton to understand the circumstances and the tragedies in which he was killed. We hope he is watching over us and that we do him proud. He will live in our hearts.
Right, I'm going to ask Dennis Watson. I want to acknowledge that both my private lodge of LOL, Balika LOL 528, Market Hill District under Lewis Singleton, and the county under Dennis Watson have been very, very supportive in this endeavour, and I acknowledge that. And Dennis, rather than have everybody speak, Dennis is just capturing the orange voice. Thank you, Dennis.
Mr. Chairman, members of the family, it's a great honour and privilege to be asked to say a few words this evening and to represent the Orange Institution in County Armagh. Back in the early 70s, our then Grand Master, Most Worshipful Reverend Martin Smith, challenged the brethren to join the security forces. At that time, it was for the formation of the Ulster Defence Regiment and for the Royal Ulster Constabulary Reserve. And in this county, we are a small county, whilst we are the origins of the Orange Institution, the roots being the county of the Diamond. 68 members of our institution have paid the supreme sacrifice, and when we take our bigger Unionist Protestant Orange family, that number multiplies. And so it's a great privilege to be here this evening, on this very poignant evening, to be part of this occasion and to assure the families, as an Orange institution, we make no apology for the position we hold in relation to the honest victims of all the situation that we find ourselves in. And can I say to the elected representatives who are sitting in Stormont, who are present here this evening, as we witnessed some of the nonsense up on the hill yet again today, I would challenge each and every one of you to work tirelessly to make sure that we do not see the establishment of any shrine at the site of the maze. And we as an Orange institution make no apology for the position that we have taken up.
Folks, it's a pleasure to be standing here, and I mean that. As somebody who comes from South Armagh, I know a lot of the families, and we deal with a lot of the families, and suffering and pain, a lot of people don't know what it's like until they've walked in the shoes of the families like the Kingsmill and the Elliots, the Porters, the Robinsons. The list is endless. Until you walk in their shoes, don't tell us to forget our loved ones, because we will not forget them, not to appease no stinking terrorist. And it's something I always remember in the homes, we were asked to hold the border. I remember politicians coming into our homes, and I wasn't too old, and I remember them saying, you need to hold the border. If the border goes, the rest of the country goes. Well, our people held the border at a very, very heavy price. And what happened here at Kingsmill was desperate for the families, but it was a message to the whole of the community. Do as we tell you, or we will wipe you out. But they found that the Kingsmill did not deter us. And I'm going to tell you something here now. I know there's some people may know it and there's some people who don't know it. This country never come as close to civil war as what they did the night they carried out the Kingsmill massacre. And I will wonder, will Sinn Féin put this in their history books? If it hadn't have been for some good people in South Armagh who begged for people not to deal with the individuals who carried out the action here, the action would have been tenfold to what they did that night at Kingsmills. So I want to send a clear message. Beyond the no illusion, you didn't scare us. You didn't scare the people of South Armagh. Far from it. You made them more determined. And that's why men like Joey Porter went out and served his country. Cliffy Lundy, Mervyn Robinson, Bertie Fraser, Johnny Bell. The list is endless. That's why they put on a uniform and went out and defended their country. Because they were asked to hold the line. Yous are now asked to hold the line. We will not sell out our dead. And the maze is a shrine. McCreesh was got with a weapon that was used to murder the men, not only here, but in Tullyvallen. My father and a number of other individuals in this area, and a number of other individuals not living too far from here, were also caught and never charged, even though they had the weapons on them. We know who done Kingsmills, and it was the IRA. It was our neighbours and our friends, our so-called friends, who come in and sat and took tea with us, who sometimes looked after our cattle while we went on the 12th of July. You may have fooled some of the people, but not all of the people. Beyond the no doubt about that. But I make no apology for calling the IRA what they are, and that is a murdering scum, the gutless cowards that they are. Whenever they hang men from a tree after stabbing him 57 times and cutting his throat, and did what they did here, don't ask me to apologise to them. And when Jerry Kelly sits in front of a TV screen and says, we want a truth processed, that's like asking the devil to tell the truth. The Kingsmill families, we made a commitment to them. We would build this memorial. We have now built this memorial. It took us longer than we intended. We also made another commitment, the pastor, myself, and a number of other individuals within the group, that we would make sure we would do everything in our power to see justice done, and to make sure that history is recorded properly. Not recorded by the perpetrators, but by the victims themselves. We hold to that. And as long as there's breath in our body, we will make sure that we do that. But it's up to you folks. Stop apologising for who you are and what you are. Because you don't need to apologise for it. But I hear a lot of Protestants saying how sorry and how disgusted they are about members of the security forces. I'll tell you what, only for the people who put the uniform on this country, we would have been in a civil war. We owe them a debt we can never repay. Let's remember that. And don't dare equate them with the murdering tramps like Raymond McCreesh or McParn or other individuals. Thank you, folks.